Hi, this is Larry Zorro from God Command Center 1, or God Command 1. And today we're going to discuss about the sun becoming black as sackcloth of hair and the moon turning into blood. This is at the time, or during the time of the great earthquake that's going to happen, the next event in God's calendar. And we're going to look at that today. And I'm going to tell you, if you stay at the near the end of the video, you'll find out the man that could be responsible for causing the darkness of the sun and the blood moon. It's an environmental thing. It's nothing out in outer space. This video is going to deal with the atmospheric conditions that would be conducive for having these events to take place. Now, we find the verses I'm talking about in Revelation chapter 6. And it is verse 12. It says, "And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood." And then we have the stars falling from heaven. We have the heavens departed as a scroll. And if you go down to the very end, we know that it's the time of wrath. For the great day of wrath is come. And that brings people into the tribulation. I believe, actually, in seal 6 is the rapture of the church. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Let me take off the hat, and we'll just get going. We'll get going on this, and I'll reveal the man. Just like in the Pharaoh was the man to bring about the deliverance of the people of Israel. He had to be the man. He was stiff-necked, he was hardened, and he just would not let the people go. But God used the opportunity of his hardness of heart and show a great deliverance that we know today, all the plagues that happened in Israel. That we know today not to mess with God. And people are messing with his creation, and they should be very scared that they could bring about Revelation 6. Now, first I should talk about lampshades. You know, in an environmental thing, the sun will become more like it has a lampshade. You know, the sackcloth of hair, black as sackcloth of hair. Hair can allow a certain amount of light through it, and it's not completely dark. And then we can have the moon becoming blood red in an atmospheric condition, say smog or pollution in the atmosphere, and it'll actually show itself red. And that's what we're talking about today, atmospheric conditions that's conducive for the great earthquake, conducive for the hand of God to move. And it's one man. Now, I think I'm going to make this video not too long. I'm going to start showing you who that man is. Now, the title of the article I found was, "Could Dimming the Sun Help to Cool the Earth?" And there's this man who wants to spray millions of tons of chalk into the stratosphere to reflect sunlight and slow global warming. But critics fear it could be disastrous. I found it in the dailymail.com. The project will see test balloons launched this summer from the town of Kiruna. If I pronounced that right, I'm not sure. It will send 2 kg of chalk into the stratosphere 12 miles above the Earth's surface. Scientists will then monitor who the dust particles interact with the atmosphere. This will be fed into a computer model to predict how a large plume would work. The idea is to block out some of the sun's energy to cool the earth. The first test of a project backed to spray millions of tons of chalk into the stratosphere is an attempt to dim the sun and cool the earth. It could happen in June, it says, to test. 2 kilograms of chalk, and the Harvard University experts will test the system. The aim of the estimated $3 million mission backed by billionaire, this is the man, Bill Gates, believe it or not, is to have the chalk deflect a portion of the sun's radiation, stop it from hitting the surface, and cool the planet. We used to have a name for that. In the olden days, it's called weather modifications. You don't do it. In those days, that was a no-no. You know, you wouldn't be in political power. You wouldn't have any kind of power if you're into, you know, that kind of modification. There's too much that can go wrong. And it's a high weather balloons. I don't know if you see the picture I'll post right there. Balloons going into the stratosphere. Let me see if I can find that thing about the shade. Do it right here. Shade. It would take tons of dust and plumes many hundreds of kilometers to make the difference. The theory being that dust would create a massive sunshade. It sort of sounds like that sackcloth of hair, don't it? A sunshade. A massive. I thought that was interesting. A shade. And, you know, what's the closest thing we have of sackcloth of hair today would be burlap. And they make shades out of burlap. There's going to be all kinds of discussion of whether it should be done, but they're already going to be doing it in June. And when they get to a massive scale, well, they actually, whoops, we did a mistake. We just blocked out the sun. It'll come back. And we read in Revelation the sun does come back again. But will it bring about the earthquake? Well, not that it has anything to do with it, but you're fulfilling Scripture, Bill Gates. You'd be fulfilling Scriptures. Let me read this thing about you got to look at this article. Like I said, dailymail.com UK. Let me read this. Now what we want to type in there is, does pollution cause the moon to look red? We come up with something here. Pollution in the air can cause the moon to turn red because it brings up a lot of dust particles to the sky. When the sun is low in the horizon, just like what happens during a sunset, light from the sun, which is also a mixture of different colors, get blocked and scattered by molecules in the air. So yes, it can. In a way, when you spread a bunch of chalk up into the air, it's kind of like pollution of calcium carbonate. So it's very interesting to see that one man could bring about seal 6. Are you ready for the rapture? I would say get ready today. Trust in Jesus. Call upon Him to save your soul. And you can be one of those going up whenever. I believe it's going to happen soon. But I think God's giving all these scenarios to us to say, look, this thing can happen at any time. And there's many ways that God could allow a man to do it, like Bill Gates, or He could just do it Himself. Well, this is Larry Zorro. I hope you appreciate this video. Gives you something to think about it, don't it? Seal 6 is just around the corner, like I've always been preaching. And, yeah, look up. Not that Jesus is coming, but look up. The sun may be going dark, black as sackcloth and hair. The moon may be turning red. And then the earthquake, and then at that time, look up, your redemption draweth nigh. Jesus is coming again. He's going to not allow us to go through distress. He's not going to allow us to die through the earthquake. He's our deliverer, and He will deliver us from this great tribulation that's coming. See you later. God bless. Bye.